is this path to mastery is a small gains with a little bit of a decline, and then you're on the plateau. Small gains, a little bit of decline on the plateau. If you look at that, most of the time is spent on the plateau.
Okay.
It comes back to consistent effort. It's monotonous. It's a lot of routines. It's boring. And I know that's not like a sexy answer to how do I get to the next level, but you can't get past the hard work part. But really the key for how do you get from one level to the next is consistent effort and just showing up even when you don't want to, showing up when you're not feeling motivated, and trusting that it will reveal itself. Progress will happen through that effort. So just keep going. If this is something that you want, keep going day and day and day and day after day.
My superhumans, welcome you guys back to the Superhuman Mindset. And today I have this amazing woman. Oh my gosh, I can't even begin to talk about the things that she's done and the amazing things that she actually achieved as a very young lady. Like, she is a premier sports psychologist, and she deals a lot with leadership and mental performance for athletes. So on a super high level. One of the coolest things about her is at the age of 23, she was a gold medalist for Team USA rowing. She was just 23, guys. Anyway, I'm excited to have Chrissy Holm here with us. Chrissy, welcome to the Superhuman Mindset.
Felix, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk all things mindset. I mean, superhuman, that's the ultimate goal right there.
So let's just get some things out of the way. You went to Michigan State?
University of Michigan, not Michigan. Did you set me up for that one?
Are you sure it's not Michigan State? I'm just trying to be sure right now.
I'm a third generation Wolverine, Felix.
Nice. So, all right, you got, and I'm going to get this right, University of Michigan.
Yes.
You got full ride scholarship to go play D1 basketball.
So I had some, to clarify with that, I had some offers. I had some offers to play Division I basketball, and end of my senior year of high school, I decided, I think I'd rather just be a student. Michigan had always been my dream school, and so I wanted that experience. And it wasn't until end of my freshman year that I decided, wait a second, I need to be part of something that's bigger than myself. And I tried out for the rowing team.
Wait, don't go too fast now. So hold on. You got offers to play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you got to school, you decided you don't really care about the basketball part anymore. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I think I wanted to pursue other areas. I felt like, yes, there's the athlete part of me, but then there's also this more like creative side, and I wanted to really lean into the student experience. And I found out that I could do both.
Mm-hmm.
And really that athletic side is what drove me. That competition, competing with myself, is really where I needed an outlet. That I couldn't really get competitive with school. I really needed a sport, and to have that community to really push me to that next level and learn and develop. And especially at a college age, that's a perfect time to do that.
Wow. Okay. So you get on campus as a freshman. You had decided you don't have anything to do. You don't want to have anything to do with sports, but you can't. It's still there, right? Then you decided to walk on to the rowing team. Does that sound right?
Yes. So I did. And what was crazy about that was ended up moving on to, so there's two different teams. There's like the freshman novice team, which are for those people who've never rowed before, or maybe have had limited experience in high school, because rowing's a little bit of a niche sport.
Okay.
And then there's a varsity, which is what you think of like NCAA Division One. And I got asked to move up to varsity within like 4 months of competing. And so it was that moment of like, oh my gosh, I'm with the big dogs now. I have to play catch up. And I guess that's really where my interest in mindset comes in is, okay, I can work hard physically, but there's this other element, and I'm going to need to use all the tools, the strategies out there to train both my mind and my body to be able to perform at the level that is expected of me so quickly.
Wow. So you hadn't rowed in your life before college?
Never. I had no idea what it was.
Wow. And then you got moved to the varsity team to compete with the big dogs.
Yes. And I will say the imposter syndrome was rampant.
Oh, yeah, the imposter syndrome. Yeah, it is real. It is real. But this is the cool part. So fast forward though, you go join the US Olympic team, under 23, and then you win a gold medal. Like, oh my gosh. Please walk me through what that was like. From that's literally 0 to 100 in your freshman year.
It was pretty remarkable. So I trained with the under 23 national team after my first year of rowing. I had gotten injured, and I think I was pretty overwhelmed too. I had been rowing for less than a year, and here I was competing at the highest level. And so it wasn't actually until my second year rowing where I made the team and competed at Worlds in Lithuania and won gold. Wow. Remarkable experience. And I even wrote, when I was injured that first year, I remember keeping this journal of my experiences, thinking, okay, one day I want to be able to help other people who have gone through similar challenges. So it was almost like I was taking this aerial view or zoomed out view of myself to watch, okay, what's my mindset with recovering from injury? What's my mindset with learning a skill as quickly as possible and really row at the level that I needed to? And so that's really where I got interested in the mental game of sport and just life.
Okay, so before we get into the mental game of sport and just life, I want to touch on this a little bit. Most people, let's just set the baseline. The folks who were competing at that level, how many years of rowing had they done?
So some of them had been rowing since middle school.
Oh my Lord.
So anywhere 6 to 8, maybe a little bit more years. So there was a lot of wealth of experience and knowledge there that I would say I was forced to pull from and excited to as well.
Okay, so this girl comes in. Not only are you annoying as heck, you haven't rowed in your life before. Freshman year, you do all these amazing things, and then you get on a bus, and the entire team is actually just clapping for you and just going like that because you'd made the collegiate row of the year. Like, what was that like? Let's talk about those highs.
Oh my gosh, it feels you can tell I'm like, we don't need to talk about me. I want to talk about how I can help other people. But no, thank you for creating that space for me to reflect on something that I haven't for a while. And it is important to understand kind of where you came from. So the moment I think you're speaking to was after my freshman year, I was awarded Big Ten Freshman of the Year. That following year, I was nominated for Collegiate Rower of the Year, and all of those accolades felt like, how is that happening to me? I also tend to, with new experiences, I'm someone that loves new ideas, exciting opportunities. So it really felt like I came about this very naturally. Like obviously I worked really hard, but I was so enthusiastic and just dialed in to what I was doing. There was
Mm.
almost like this, I want to say like childlike joy of
Yep.
just, here's this new endeavor. Let's see how far I can take it. And you know, I say all of this. It may sound like here's this wonderful journey that she went on that was so exciting, but actually, kind of the more pivotal moment of growth was after I came back from Worlds. I had a really challenging next year.
Oh
Everybody,
yeah, and we are gonna get that.
oh, good. I'm glad.
I just want to get this part out because I know my listeners, they are all entrepreneurs. They want to. Growing up, they have been told that you have to have this passion,
Mhm.
and like you have to have a passion for this and So I'm trying to get in the mind of Chrissy, who had never rode before. And all of a sudden, she's here and then she's performing at this high level. Was it more like a passion that just fell on you, or what was that like?
I love talking about passion because I think that's such a great question of, is it something that you're born with? Is it a collection of experiences? Is it that aha moment? And I think that the answer to that, or at least for me, is it's a way of being. It's an engagement of life or with life, but it's also this patience and curiosity that if you keep committing to something that you're interested in, or and being open to, okay, what other door could open for me. I would have never dreamed about rowing, right? This
Mm,
was a
mm.
sport that, here was this opportunity that was presented to me, and I had the courage and the curiosity and the patience to say, okay, I want to give this a try. So it's almost like, I think passion gets built from these drop in the bucket experiences that if you keep saying yes to, if you stay curious about them, it points you into the right direction.
Okay.
And I think sometimes we get so caught up in like, I need to feel this like aliveness.
Mm,
There were
mm,
days I
mm.
did not feel alive rowing. It was a struggle to get up. Right? But it's
Wait, this is coming from the gold medalist?
I'm just being human here, right? Like there's that curiosity of what's on the other side.
Mm. So I guess what I'm hearing you say is, and this is what we're telling everybody else, is passion is not just something that falls on you. Even with someone like you, it had to take that amount of passion. It's something that you work towards every single day to get you from day one. First off, switch your mind from basketball, decide to try on rowing. I don't know why you decided that. And then you constantly built that. It was more like a day in, day out activity that you did that built that passion for you and that helped you perform at that high level. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, absolutely. And it is that day-to-day commitment
Mm,
to full on engagement, but also trust and uncertainty. Right? We're living at a time right now, and not to bring it back to COVID,
yeah.
but that is so relevant for everyone. But how do you stay passionate through these kinds of times
Yep.
when there is so much
Mm,
uncertainty? How can you trust yourself and stay engaged and know that a path will create itself for you, or you will create this path, you just may not know what it looks like yet. And that's really where that was a journey and a lesson that I learned through rowing, and it's something that I'm continuously learning throughout my next endeavors.
nice. Yeah, COVID has become that member of our family that we constantly have to acknowledge.
Put
So
COVID in timeout, can
yeah,
we?
I hope we can, but apparently the media will not let us do that. So we just got to live with it. It's here. All right. So Chrissy comes in, does these amazing things. She walks around with all right. I'm hearing some echo. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, is it better?
Hmm.
Oh, okay. I think it was coming from this. But anyway, so Chrissy comes in. She does these amazing things. Mom, dad, everybody from the neighborhood knows her. She is just like rowing to the top. I even heard that she shattered this rowing test that they do. Like it was just a test, and the girl just shattered it. Shattered the record for it. What is it called?
Yeah, so that was our 2K 2000 meter rowing test, and
Okay.
um, with that, it's like the peak performance test for the sport of rowing. And we talk about, talking about passion and coming at something with a lot of enthusiasm. This was the first time that I'd ever done the 2K test. I didn't know what the hell I was getting myself into, but I thought, okay, I see these numbers on the board. I see the freshman record. I want to beat that. And I
So you
had,
were competitive.
yeah, I'm definitely competitive, right? Um, and so approaching that with the same sense of like, all right, let's see, a little bit of swagger and also that curiosity of like, yeah, okay, let's see what happens. No one expects this from me, and I don't even expect this from me,
Oh
but
my, you were touching on something deep right here. Like the whole notion of, the things that you focus on, you maximize. And especially as a collegiate athlete, you can attest to this, that the things that you relax on and just say, well, let's just see, kind of like a game, you are able to go so far. I'm just learning that, and it's just intriguing to me. I mean, we refer to, most people just say, oh, get into the flow state, and they make it seem like it's this, bubble that you got to get into. But really, I think what I'm learning is it's more about when you can relax into that state and just say, well, let's just see if I can gamify this. You can go so far. What have you seen like in coaching others?
yeah, great question. So two things that I want to highlight from there is flow state. Yes, it is this feeling of automaticity. It's this energizing, like time stops or time fast, flies forward, but you're at the peak of performance. It feels effortless, and when you can get to flow state, it feels amazing.
Mm.
But 95% of the time, we're not going to be in flow state.
Okay.
However, what you talked about with focus and what I want to add in is preparation.
Mm.
Those are the two ingredients to allow for flow state to happen. And it's an allowance of that. I'm going to
Focus
give
and
up
preparation. Okay.
focus and preparation. And with flow state, if you are trying to achieve it, you want to get that so badly, it won't happen. So it really has to happen naturally, but the two things that you really can train to set yourself up for that potential is being extremely focused, present, dialed into, okay, what's really important for me now? What's relevant? What do I want to accomplish? What are my goals? How do I get there? And then doing it. Right? It's not like I hadn't done it training before taking that 2K test. Right? I worked really hard, but I got so prepared that I got out of my own way and allowed what I had trained my body and where I was putting my focus and attention to really take over and take me home there.
So besides, is there, like, in order to get to flow state, we are learning right now that it's not something that you can just necessarily get there, all the time. When you force it, it doesn't come, right? But we also learned that focus is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your tips to help build focus?
Great question. So I am a huge advocate for both formal and informal mindfulness practice.
Formal and informal. Okay.
Yes. So
Tell us more.
What I mean by that is, so formal practice would be, so I guess I want to start with the definition of mindfulness.
Okay.
And how I see it is, it's this moment to moment awareness that is leading with acceptance, curiosity, without judgment, just being really present and aware. And I think a lot of times people have this idea that mindfulness is, if you're practicing mindfulness, you're going to be super relaxed. You may float off the floor in lotus position. No levitating, but really it's you're awake, you're alert, and you're grounded. You're in this state of like, okay, I know what's happening and I know where I want to go from here. And so meditation is a great way to practice formal mindfulness. So really just taking time to sit still, focus on your breathing or a kind of a mantra or something, or counting, but focusing on one thing, noticing when your mind has wandered off, come back to that focus, and so on and so forth. And really the power of mindfulness comes from noticing when your mind has wandered away from your focus point and bringing it back. So that refocusing is huge. 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, right? Building up your practice is so huge for that.
Okay.
But if you're also, or I would say, and if you're feeling like, I don't know if I can commit to sitting still and focus.
I usually, like when I first started meditating, I'll fall asleep.
Yes. Yeah. There are a lot of challenges. It's either, okay, finally I get to rest and my body's like, nope, we're not going to do any focusing. We're going to rest. We're going to sleep.
Yeah.
Or it's like, oh my gosh, I can't sit still. I'm bouncing in my body because I'm not used to just slowing down. So if it feels, if it's like that at first and it feels unattainable, there's informal mindfulness practice, which would be doing anything mindfully. So really noticing, using all 5 of your senses, focusing on one thing, whether it's like, oh, I'm gonna just look at my hand. I'm gonna notice all the details of my hand. And when I notice my attention has gone off, I'm going to come back to it. Or if I'm washing the dishes, I'm going to listen to the sounds. I'm going to feel the temperature, those kinds of things.
You got me breathing over here.
Right? Just slow down, get centered. And that's always accessible to you. So doing any task mindfully, you don't have to chart in extra time. It doesn't really take, you'll be slowing down a little bit, but it's going to get you to a place where you're more effective and efficient moving forward, just being present. So I would say those are the 2 ways to train focus.
Okay.
Informal and formal mindfulness practice.
So I want to go back to this part before I forget. Yeah, because that part really is an integral part of who you are. And I really want to understand. So as a 23-year-old, you got this high, you were playing with the big dogs, you were representing the United States, and then you come back mid-college. What was that like?
Yeah, so I had to make a decision after Worlds. Do I want to train for the Olympics, or do I want to go to grad school? And I, through my
grad school, Olympics, okay.
I think it was really, I felt like, okay, I had fulfilled yes, both of those are big tasks. I had fulfilled my athletic pursuits to the degree where I felt like my passion points were moving in a different direction.
Okay.
I wanted to take what I had learned and really help others. And so I went to a school in London, Brunel University in West London, for my master's degree in sport and exercise psychology.
Wow.
That was awesome. So great to be exposed to.
How long were you out there for?
I was out there for about 1.5 years.
Oh, nice. I love London.
London is beautiful, and there's so much rich culture there as well. And I felt like I learned not only so much just about myself and the world, but the world of sport too on a global scale.
Scale, yes. Especially with soccer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Football, you mean?
Yes. Tables have turned.
Tables have turned.
I like that. So then you come back and then you realize that, you take the grad school approach, but your identity had always been an athlete. So how did you handle that transition? Now you don't have people clapping and then, all of that anymore. What was that like and how did you get yourself out of that?
Yeah, so I actually didn't get myself out of that. I joined another sport. In total Chrissy fashion, I was like, okay, what's the next thing I haven't done? And I joined the netball team. Are you
Okay.
familiar with netball?
Yeah. I played.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. It's not a very, I hadn't heard of it until I was over in Europe.
In Europe, yeah.
But I loved training and also applying everything I was learning in my sports psychology classes to this new sport. So I got to try out all the techniques of imagery and focus training and goal setting and all those great skills. And I got to see it live out. And that I think was really helpful to have this transition out of sport. It was a sport that didn't train as much as rowing. I wasn't up at 5 a.m. doing 3-hour grueling workouts. Although the workouts were tough, it wasn't quite of a commitment. So the physicality of it started to come down. And I was looking at it with this curiosity of the mental game.
Okay.
So that was huge for allowing me to help transition and see my identity sort of shift. But I would say it didn't really reach its peak or plateau of like, okay, yeah, you've transitioned out, until I completed my yoga teacher training. So that's another thing.
Wow. That's another thing that we can jump into. But before that, I want to ask this. So I did not go to a D1 school. I didn't even know this even existed. It was an NAIA. And the question that I had was coming from Ghana, West Africa.
Mhm.
And then I got to understand that there was D1, D2, D3, NAIA, all of those things, right? It was mostly the D1 guys that went to college, went to go play for, professional, like NFL, whatever it was. Why would people spend their time to go play sport when they were not going to go into the professional league? Number one. And number two, you identify yourself as an athlete. So, okay, once that's done and you are not like Chrissy who can go play netball, what happens to your life? How do you pick yourself up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to answer your first question of why would you commit to something if you're not going to get a large payout on the other end of doing a sport like that at that level? And I think rowing for me and just that level of competition requires so much dedication and focus and commitment that I was able to see any challenges in my life of, oh, okay, well, if you were able to do a 2K test this many times, or you were able to row that race where you blacked out at the end because you were in so much like physical pain and exhaustion, you can take this test, or you can have this meeting with your boss. And so it was training for life.
Gotcha. So it helped you be able to compare and contrast situations whenever you run into them.
Yes, compare and contrast, and also just really uncover what I was made of. It put me in these situations, and I know that this is common for a lot of athletes. Is it's you at your best, it's you at your worst, and there's so much. It's just a pressure cooker. So to see what comes out of it, that's really that's the treasure of sports at that level. But I also, I don't want to say this to close off that opportunity to someone who didn't play at that level. I think
Mhm.
anything that you commit to that much and you
Mhm.
welcome those challenges,
Mhm.
you're going to come out of it learning so much about yourself, and
Mm.
it's worth the discomfort. It's worth, the entire journey.
Just
And
a side part though, do you think it's worth doing it in college, or do you have to go play sport to learn that?
I think you can do it at any point, at any
Okay.
age. I think college is a great structure for that. It's a time where you leave home and you're figuring yourself out. But I also don't want to discourage anyone from not leaning into those types of journeys. I
Mm.
think the perfect place to start is exactly where you are right now. I mean, this year has put us all through the ringer, and it's really, I could have gone through my collegiate experience and been like, yeah, the workouts were really hard. It was really fun. I got to compete. That was cool, and then go on with my life.
Mhm.
But it's really the reflection, and it's taking the time to mine for those lessons. What did the pain teach me? What did the stress teach me?
Mm.
And that can be applied to anything. You just have to take the time to slow down and ask yourself those questions. What am I meant to learn in this moment? And that lesson, and we talked about uncertainty earlier. That's exactly how that fits in. Is I may not know I might not know why I'm going through this now, but if you sit with it, and maybe this comes back to mindfulness too, if you sit with it and just be quiet and listen, so much can come out of it if you have that consistent effort, if you show up ready to go. And I know I got a little bit maybe hippie preachy there, but
No, it is. I mean, it's what you believe. So I believe people need to hear that. So for the guy or girl who is going through college right now, I know right now you're working with all the professional baseball players and you just completed a leadership. Can you tell us a little bit about it before we go back to my question here? You just completed a leadership training for the Twins?
yeah, so we just did. So I'm with a group called Premier Sports Psychology, and one of the teams that we've been working with is the Twins. And so we just completed a 10-week leadership development program where we went into a bunch of topics such as self-awareness, emotional intelligence,
Hmm.
and really those are kind of the two key elements to developing leadership. And then from there, it's relationship building, communication skills, motivation, utilizing your strengths, stress management, those types of things. So it was a really just amazing holistic program that I know we were really proud of to do that. And we got some great feedback as well. So that was a nice feather in the cap
Nice.
for the work that we're doing.
Nice. So from where you stand, being at the top level, then coming out to work with those at the very high level professionals, the peak of their games. What are you going to tell the kids or your kids self that was in college at University of Michigan?
Hmm. Um, I would say that's a great question. I think that this day and age, we want to get to that end result so quickly. We want to be 10 steps ahead. And comparing a collegiate athlete who's fresh and excited and really wanting to get to that top level, it doesn't happen overnight.
Okay.
One of the things that we talked about a lot in this program, and this idea comes from this book called Mastery by George Leonard.
Okay.
Love, like, one of the most influential books I've read anyways, but he has this model of different approaches to doing new activities. And there's like the hacker who gets like figure something out really quickly and then just kind of plateaus and then drops off. The dabbler that's excited at first by something, and then obsessive, where you're like, okay, I'm putting all my efforts into this, and then they hit a little setback and then redouble their efforts to reach this next level, and then eventually drop off when the progress stops. But what he says is this path to mastery is a small gains with a little bit of a decline, and then you're on the plateau. Small gains, a little bit of decline on the plateau. If you look at that, most of the time is spent on the plateau.
Okay.
It comes back to consistent effort. It's monotonous. It's a lot of routines. It's boring. And I know that's not like a sexy answer to how do I get to the next level, but you can't get past the hard work part. But really the key for how do you get from one level to the next is consistent effort and just showing up even when you don't want to, showing up when you're not feeling motivated, and trusting that it will reveal itself. Progress will happen through that effort. So just keep going. If this is something that you want, keep going day and day and day and day.
Wow.
After day. Yeah.
Wow. So Chrissy, I ask all my guests this question. What is your superpower?
Ooh. My superpower. I would say that a superpower that I have developed, because I do believe that all skills can be developed, is I've become a really great listener. And that has been so impactful for the work that I'm doing, the relationships that I have. And it's a skill that I think gets forgotten a lot. Just being present, showing up, and really meeting someone else where they're at. And I know that I'm giving maybe a lengthier answer than I would for the power of listening, but just showing up and hearing what whoever you're with really what they're talking about.
Amazing. Wow. I feel like I need to just calm down, go back, rewatch this, and then take all the notes I can take, because this was very, very, very packed. Lots of gems here that you dropped.
Thanks. We covered a lot.
Yes, we did. And I know we're out of time. So I really want to thank you for joining us on this Superhuman Mindset podcast. And I think we should do another one and bring you back and talk about mindfulness and dig deeper into mindfulness.
Speaking my language.
So where can people find you?
Yeah. So I on Instagram, my handle is Sport Psych Yogi. So Sport Psych PSYCH Yogi YOGI. And I'm also on Twitter. If you search Chrissy Holm, ChrissysHolm, you can find me there. And then otherwise, Felix, I think if they want to reach out to you and you can connect us, I'm open for that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll leave them in the show notes so that people know how to find you.
Excellent.
And if anyone has any questions, definitely be reaching out. Reach out to me, and then I'll definitely connect you with Chrissy. She is just amazing. Thank you so much, Chrissy, for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Felix. This was fun.
Right. This was fun. Thank you. And so, my superhumans, this has been time with Felix on the Superhuman Mindset. Guys, I'm just blown by this. She is just so knowledgeable, and I have to go back and then take notes myself. So until we talk again, join me next time on the Superhuman Mindset. And don't forget to click to subscribe and share with your friends. This has been Felix. Thank you.